us now is Rachel Maclean, MP, Deputy Chairman of the Conservative Party. Rachel, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for joining us on Good Afternoon Britain. Now, next Tuesday, it's a massive day for the Conservative Party, for Rishi Sunak and his premiership. If this legislation does not get through, the Commons does not pass, is that game over for Rishi Sunak at this stage? He has promised to stop the boats.
Yes, and I think I very much hope it does get through. And it is right, I've been listening to your previous commentary. It is right that colleagues have time to scrutinise this because it's really important. It's a very significant piece of legislation and it is a trust issue for the British public. They have elected us to sort this out. And the frustration in the country is palpable because they can see these people coming over on small boats, illegally abusing our generous hospitality, attacking our British sense of fair play, and they feel really angry about it. But we have to do it in the right way. Now, we've tried by passing laws and doing things in the standard way, and unfortunately it's been frustrated in international courts by unelected bodies, and it is right that we now take stock of where we are and find something that can enable us to untangle this so that we can finally deliver on this vital pledge.
Maclean, you talk about unelected bodies stymieing the government's progress. There is one unelected body that will definitely be a bit of a road bump in the passage of this legislation, and that's the other half of Parliament, the upper house, the House of Lords. How can you be sure that a piece of legislation that some MPs say might override various courts would be accepted by a house, the House of Lords, where only a third of its members are Conservative?
Well, you're right to say the House of Lords are not elected and they should not frustrate the will of the British people. And by and large, they don't. If we actually are able to make the arguments, if we have a legally robust instrument in front of us, of course they will want their chance to scrutinise it. But I am confident that the work has been done by the Prime Minister and his team. And he has put in place a very impressive ministerial team now to steer this through. I know that they will be giving this their full attention and testing all those arguments. But ultimately, the British people need to see that it is the Conservative Party and only the Conservative Party that has a plan to tackle this. I mean, we've seen a lot of things being frustrated in the House of Lords, most notably Brexit, and we saw how that ended. So we need to always remember who has put us here. People have put us here to sort this out, and that is what we need to do.
Rachel, the problem is, why should we trust Rishi Sunak and the government? Because we saw Robert Jenrick only last night quit over this bill, arguing that it will not end the merry-go-round of legal challenges that we've seen that have been acting as an obstacle to this policy. Why is he wrong and Rishi Sunak right?
I'm really sorry, I've got a problem with the audio. Would you mind just summarising that quickly?
Rachel, I was asking, I hope you can hear me. I was asking, Robert Jenrick resigned last night over this bill. He said it did not go far enough to prevent the merry-go-round of legal challenges that have held up this policy so far. Why is he wrong and Rishi Sunak right?
So I have listened very carefully to what the Prime Minister has said, and can I just pay tribute to Robert Jenrick, who has done a phenomenal job in a very difficult brief. Some of the work that he's done has delivered some very significant improvements on this issue of illegal immigration. We've already seen the small boat crossings go down by a third. That's due to the work that he's done and some of the deals that he has struck. So look, colleagues need to look at this now, look at it very carefully, and I know that they are. I've listened to what the Prime Minister said, and I've obviously familiarised myself with the treaty and the arguments and also the legislation. It is very tough legislation. It is the toughest legislation that's been put forward to tackle this, and ultimately it is the only solution. So I think for me that's where we get to, because if people are not happy with what's proposed, I mean, I always believe this in any walk of life, they really need to come forward with their own alternative, and right now no credible alternatives have been put forward. So I think we do need to get behind this and vote it through and have the argument with the Labour Party, because look, the Labour Party have come up with nothing. Some of the things that they said are just platitudes about talking to the French. I mean, look, we are doing all those things. If these things were easy or even credible or workable, we would have done them.
Rachel, why has the Prime Minister said that this is not a vote of confidence? If this legislation is so totemic, so important to this government's agenda, to those famous 5 priorities, why hasn't the government made it a vote of confidence?
So I'm not sure why the debate has got to this place, because these are matters for the Prime Minister and his team, and it's about confidence. Of course, it's about confidence in the government and what it delivers. And the British people will be looking at this and thinking, we elected you to deal with this. When the Prime Minister came into office, he set out his priorities and he said he would stabilise the economy, he said he would deliver tax cuts, he said he would get inflation down. He has done all those things. So people can see that he has got a track record of actually delivering what he said he was going to do. Now, he has stood.
Some people might argue that the debt is going up, and some people might argue that, yes, some taxes have been cut, but the overall burden is still rising.
I'm sure they will, and I'm sure they do, but they can see the direction of travel, and we'd all like to cut taxes faster, and I very much hope, as a low-tax Conservative, that we will see further tax cuts. But of course, you've got to think about the COVID debt that we are paying off, and we do need to have a sensible balance on that and keep the finances steady. But on this issue of immigration, it is a defining issue. It is one of the Prime Minister's priorities. We were elected on that manifesto to get Brexit done. And one of the major drivers of that is having control of our borders. Every sovereign nation has got a right to control its borders. That is what people voted for. Those sentiments haven't gone away. People still feel that. They still feel absolutely furious about the whole issue of illegal migrants coming here, abusing the hospitality, the incredibly generous hospitality that we extend to them. They feel absolutely furious about the constant merry-go-round of legal appeals on all sorts of spurious grounds. And the treaty and the legislation that's been put forward will deal with a lot of that. Now, we know that the House of Lords will oppose it. They're not elected. They don't really understand the strength of feeling, because they don't have to go out and talk to voters. We have to go out and talk to voters and account for ourselves. That's why we all feel so strongly about it.
Well, thank you very much indeed for your time. Rachel Maclean, MP, Deputy Chairman of the Conservative Party. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
It really does seem that this is sort of all of the eggs of the government are being put in this basket, in this crucial piece of legislation. But as Christopher Hope was saying at the beginning there, the star chamber, so-called, of the right of the Tory party won't be reporting on whether they think this legislation will do its job or not until Tuesday.
And hang on, remind me, who makes up the Star Chamber? It is the ERG?
It is the ERG, the
Common
New
Sense
Conservative Group, and the Common Sense Group of Conservative MPs. They have appointed a series of highly qualified lawyers to look at this stuff. The previous iterations of the Star Chamber were just the ERG in the past, but obviously this isn't just a European issue. This is a wider...
It does remind me of the Brexit years. But of course, one of the things is Rishi Sunak insists that he's bringing down the numbers because of his policy, yet we have evidence to GB News exclusively that there are many other reasons why this year those boat crossings have gone down a bit.